Hello, and today we'll be creating an animation of wind blowing a character's face and hair. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new vector level over here. And then I'm going to go to my geometry tool, or just press G. Go to shape, and I can press ellipse. Now I'm going to click and drag until that's big enough for me. Now I can go to my selection tool, S, and I can move it up a little to the size I want. This is going to be the cranium of the guy we're making. So I'm going to go to my geometry tool again, and I'm going to press line. This will be the thing we'll be using most during this animation process. Now, if you want to see where your character is going to be looking, you draw a vertical line to set where he's looking. And then now, I can draw the chin. Just clicking and dragging. Now, let us make the eye line. I will draw a horizontal line over where I think the eyes should be. Now that we have that, I just want to make the neck and the shoulders. I can just make it like that. Now I see that his neck is too big, so I'll just Ctrl Z some parts. And then it still too big. I see that it's a bit too big on this side, so I just move it down with my selection tool and delete some parts. It's supposed to be looking at that, and then we just make the shoulders. Now we can move it a little bit. Okay, now that we have moved it, we can start to work on the actual animation. So now I want my character's hair to go up and down because the wind is like blowing on him, so one will go left and right like that. So if you're trying to make a character's hair look like it's going from the side, the best thing is to make your tufts of hair go in opposite directions so that it looks more natural. Or if you want the hair to look like it's being blown from the back or from the front, they will go from the same direction. So now, since I don't want to freehand because I'm using a mouse, I will make a new layer, vector layer. Then I will choose the brush tool. This is a very thick brush, so I don't have to focus on the details. Make sure it's on another layer. Almost forgot the ears, so I'm just going to go back and work on the ears. Now I want my character's head to be kind of wild, so I'll use the brush tool so I don't really focus on the I don't really focus on the details like that. So I think that this is a very wild hair, so I think that this should be the end pose. I normally start with the beginning pose, but this just looks right for the end pose. So I'll just drag this cell over here, and then I'll move it to around 5. After that, I'll click this white yellow circle over here, and now I can see it. I can now make the downward position. These are the keyframes that we'll be using. So then now we can now in between it. So it's supposed to go down like that. So now we can see how we have our 2 key poses, downward hair and upward hair. Now we can go to this layer over here, go to additional column settings, click this, then we can drag the opacity down like that. So when we go to the downward layer, we can see that the opacity is very low. So now we can go in with our line, and then we can make the fine lines for the upward pose. Just go with it. Starting with a big brush helps you not focus on the details too much, because I am using a mouse and I tend to not be precise with the brush tool, so it's perfect for that. So then I can just trace over it with the fine line tool. And over the way, I'm simplifying some shapes so it will be easier to animate in the end. So now if we turn off that layer, you can see that we have our hair right now. I can see that it looks very good. So now what we got to do is go to our selection tool, Ctrl A and then Ctrl C, go to the 5th frame with our 2nd keyframe, and then just Ctrl V. This part is essential. Now we can start deleting some things. I will use the onion skin by pressing this yellow circle over here, so I can still see the things, the first frame behind me. And deleting all of them. Now we can make our upward pose, or our left pose, if you may. So now this is basically when the hair is going a bit upward because of the hair blowing. Can just trace over it a little bit like that. Then we can just connect it. So now we can finally hide our layer. So now you can see how we have our 2 key poses. So now I can add some changes to it. Like I want the hair to be a little bit squished at this side, so I'll do that. Then there's pretty much nothing else I really want to do. So now we can start working on our in-betweens. So in-betweens are basically like just in-betweens, the ways to make your animation smoother instead of this jerky stuff. So now we can go to our second frame. While on this second frame, we can go to our selection tool, Ctrl A it, Ctrl C it, and then Ctrl V it. Now while we still have our onion skin on, we can still see our last keyframe. We will delete some things. Now I will just copy this head with no hair, Ctrl C it, and then copy it far out, and then I'll just reduce it to here. So now I can start seeing like, how would I make this go from here to here? So since this is just the second frame, I will just make it a little bit different from the first frame, but still like it's going, the motion is going down. Then just still keeping it like how I want it to be. Since it's just the second frame, there doesn't have to be many changes from the original frame. That's what the third and fourth frame are for. Just trying to make it as smooth as it can be. Or often I'll just zoom out to see my final result, and then I'll go back in to continue, just making sure I don't lose track of what I want. Just trying to keep the second frame out. Now I can see that the fifth frame, it looks very bad, so I'm just going to make it even smaller. And then I'll just connect it. Now we can just work on that, and we have our second frame of the hair done. Now I can see that there are some very big changes that we need to change when flipping through my frames, so I will fix those. Now on our third frame, we're going to apply the principle of slow in, slow out, which means that when your object is doing motion, it's slow at the start, gets faster, and then slows down again. So now I can see that on my third frame, I can add a lot of difference. So I'm going to go to my frame where I kept the head with no hair. So I'll just copy that for simplicity. Copy that and then copy it onto the third frame. Now we can, with this green frame in mind, we can change it a little bit, things a little bit. Just making sure that we have a perfect balance of the two. Just trying to trace over what we need to. We can just move what we need to move. I can see that this perk over here is rising, so I'm going to make it rise a bit more. And we can see that it's falling a little bit, so I'm going to just make it fall a bit more, just trying to keep a perfect balance of the two frames, my last keyframe and my previous frame, just trying to keep them in mind. Then we can just, okay, so now we are done with our second frame. Now I can see that there are some changes that are a bit too massive for this particular frame. I'm just going to change up those changes so now they are more, they look less raggedy. Now our fourth frame, which is going to be our basically our last in between that we'll need, is like the frame before the frame. It's like basically the frame before the final up frame or final keyframe. So now I just need to put some things in place, make it look as good as it can be. Just trying to align with our final frame here with some minor changes. One of the biggest changes is this thing trying to go up. Then we can make this just barely almost pick up. because the wind is blowing at him. Then we can just make it this ever so slightly pick up. So now we finish our fourth frame. So now basically the last step for the hair is to make these frames on twos. So twos is basically that one frame like this frame will appear for will have a duplicate, so will appear for a bit longer than when I'm animating at once, which is just one frame. So I'm going to press, while on my first frame, press shift and then click on my last frame on the layer I'm doing. Then you can see this button over here that says twos. I will click on it. It says reframe on twos. And you can see that there's a space in between each one of them. That's good. So I'm gonna drag my marker so now I can see it. So let's look at our hair going. You can see that the hair looks fine. There could just be some minor changes, like there's a line here. So now we can copy this. Sorry, actually I've done this before I reframed it on tools. I'm going to Ctrl Z it all the way before I reframed it on tools. Then I'm going to copy the fourth frame, paste it, then copy the third frame, paste it, then copy the second frame, paste it. Then I'm going to reframe on tools. So let's look at it. Sorry, our marker didn't. So now you can see our hair goes up a little. You can see our hair looks very fine. The wind is blowing it. Looks like a real hair. So now, after all that, we start to work on the actual features. So I'm going to delete these horizontal and vertical lines I put, and also this circle. So now we're just left with the jaw, but you can still see some remnants of it in the grain. After that, we can just make the hairline, which is just like a bunch of triangles. Now we also want the hairline to subtly move as well. So what I'm going to do is that I'll copy it, then paste it. Then paste it on this other frame that still has it. Go to the second frame. Then just make some minor changes and then delete. Then we can paste it back. Now we can start working on what we need to work on. We can then just ever so slightly make the hairline move a little bit, not too much that it looks out of place. Just move the hairline a little bit. I use M to put back where these white spaces, I use M to just move it down. And if it curves a little, I will use this iron tool to iron it out so it can be straight and keep that vibe we're going for. Then we can move it ever so slightly. We can then copy it again and then we paste it on another layer on the next frame. And I also think that my jaw should move up a little bit up and down like that, so I'll just move it ever so slightly up and use M to bring the lines back. Then we can just Ctrl C it, then delete it. After that, then paste. Then paste it. After that, we can make the hairline move more. We can just move it more. Move the curls more. Okay, now we go to the next frame and then just depends taking process of deleting this, delete, and then pasting it. Now we can make the hairline go more like this. Just making it a little more. Then we have this, our last frame we need to check, which is this. Now we can delete some parts. Now we can make it go more like that. Just moving the hair. And now we can say, well, let's look at our animation. This looks okay, but then there's still a last frame. Yeah, you can see that it looks like our wind is blowing, but there's still no expressions on his face. So we need to add those expressions. And I still have to add the chin animation going up and down. So we will do that. Then we can make it go up again. So now let us look at it. You can see that our jaw is moving now, but we still need to add some emotion to it. So I'm gonna create a new layer, vector layer. Going to go back to our geometry tool, and then I'm just gonna go to multi-arc because I want these eyebrows to be smooth. just make the eyelash. Okay, you can see that it's a bit too small for its head, so we're going to move it more, and then we can make his eyes very big, because he's going to be kind of like surprised at all this wind blowing. So after that, we make an ellipse and then make the eye. It's gonna be looking to the side. We make this a little bit, this eyebrow a little bit less thick, then make it go up. After that, we can copy this eye, resize it to be smaller, then we can make the iris, the little pupil. We can then copy it, paste it, then flip it with this button over here called flip section horizontally. Then we can make it, we can remove the selection of the eye, make it go like that, and then move it to the next side. So now can move the eye more. Can make him shocked. After that, we can add the mouth. His mouth is going to be wide open. Not that wide open, but still wide open. It's just a bit too wide, so let's make him a bit angry. So I will do that by doing like 2 check marks, flipping them, then moving them to the other side. Then we can add the tongue, then we can add the teeth. Then we can add the nose. I want the nose to have a little bit of a ellipse to show, even ellipse to show his nose hole, his nasal hole, to show his nasal hole. After that, we can now move it just a little bit higher. We can then copy it, paste it, and now I just want a little bit of movement in the eye, so I'll move it down a little bit. Then make his mouth move down a little bit. After that, we can just Ctrl C this, shift this, Ctrl C it, contrivate. So then we can make it on tools. This looks very good. Now we can make the back of the mouth black. Sorry. We can make it gray. Let's just redraw the teeth a little bit. Okay, now we can add the white of the teeth. Then we can make it black like that. So now you can see that our guy is moving very well. Now we can add a little bit of shading in the eye. You can just copy this now. And we can move it a little bit. So now we have this guy moving. So now we just need to put the wind. So that will be very easy. Just go to my geometry tool and just make a bunch of random lines. Just like that will be good. Then on the next frame, we can also add another bunch of random lines. Just make sure it doesn't encroach on him though. Now we can Ctrl-C this, Ctrl-V, then just make it on tools. And now we have wind. We're going to add some sound effects now. So I'm going to import my already rendered animation and I'll drag it in. So now I want some wind and a bit of shouting in it. So I will go to audio and then sound effects and then a bit of a shout. So I'll add it here and then I'll change the voice changer to low. I think that's good. So now we can add a little bit of wind. I think that is good. And then I'll make the volume a bit higher. And then after that, I'll just duplicate it sometimes. Okay, you can just add some as so let's check it now. So there you have it. Here's the final result. I believe you had fun with this. If you did, please consider giving a like and a subscribe.